Chandra matunguru gayanige mama twatugende nayanga nayangire kugambirwa nabweine.
My name is Kasima, daughter of Msime, granddaughter of Bamwine, a storyteller, a seamstress, and our matriarch. Uganda has 1.4 million refugees as of 2021. Of these, 52% are women, 23% are youth, with the majority being South Sudanese. They work mainly in the informal sector due to the challenges they face and encounter, like language barrier, lack of required experience, discrimination based on nationality, gender, and sexuality. This has led to more refugees joining the creative industries, but they face difficulties there as well.
Hello, I'm Esmi Juma. You can call me Peter J. Wolf. I'm a photographer. I love photography. And I'm a South Sudanese refugee living in Uganda.
We as creatives have been looking for ways to keep our mental health in check during the COVID-19 pandemic. With the lockdown, our work as artists has been put on hold. Without gatherings, gigs, artwork commissions, clothing line launches, events, we're left with no income generating activities. And this has brought about a lot of mental health issues. Some artists I know have sold their equipment in order to survive. Many have been evicted from studios and homes.
Literally about the COVID-19 and the lockdown. Those are, for me, they are not difficulties, but those are challenges. Challenges come in life. They come and go, you pass them. So I tried my best to send my music to the radio stations. I tried my best to put my music on YouTube. I tried to shoot a few videos. Though I was a bit down because you're putting in a lot of money, but you're not getting it because no concerts. You cannot do anything to get back what you're putting in. So I had to reduce the production a bit. I just make sure I put out a song that at least carries a meaning and people can keep listening to it. Like I did a few collaborations with some artists from the refugee camps who are living there. It's about coronavirus. It's basically a song done for the refugees to follow the SOPs and understand what coronavirus is. So I was the team leader of that group. I had to choose the artist. And yes, that is how at least I got some appreciation from the organizers of the event.
COVID-19 has hugely impacted my work in terms of concerts. As artists, we majorly rely on gigs, getting opportunities to do concerts. And unfortunately, due to the prevalence of COVID-19, there was a lockdown in the entire country. We don't have access to organize shows, even social gatherings where we earn from as artists. So this has really made things difficult for me in particular. Even sustainability, getting to studio to produce songs has become a little bit difficult because you cannot access studios as well. And not only me, even other musicians are facing the same challenge. So COVID has really disorganized our plannings, especially the creative economy for artists.
Some of the challenges I have faced as a photographer during this COVID pandemic is the fact that transport has become a problem, and also difficulty in accessing the equipment, because right now I'm at home, the equipment is somewhere. It's somewhere. The computer that I edit on, the camera that I use for taking pictures is somewhere. So it's very hard for me to access this.
One time I had to go to a birthday party to get the coverage, but something happened. I got robbed. I got robbed by two men. One was actually a con man. He stood at the roadside, by the roadside. As I'm going to the bus park, he actually stopped me and he's trying to talk to me, you know, so that his partner can come and find him. Because I'm still talking to him, the partner just came from behind with a bike on a motorcycle. He hit me from the back of my head and they grabbed my bag, which possessed my cameras, phone, and it just took me like to zero. I had to start again.
You know, there is a moment I could have died because of there is no food, there is no money I could buy any food, something. Yeah, those challenges. After these things covered, I'm still in the meanwhile living with my friends right now. There is a time I couldn't even talk, but thanks now I can speak my own. I know there is nothing I can challenge because as long as I'm speaking. Okay, I'm not that perfect with my English. It's like I can say the rate of my English is 70% or 80%, but that's enough for me.
I've also been selling beats, like to many clients, mostly friends online, something of that kind. So before Corona, I think I was selling it to my closest friends. I call them my closest clients because they usually call me. We meet as in physically, but now when this Corona came in, things became a challenge. Like there was this curfew, so they could not meet me physically.
Salam, Jama, it's me, Simon Marakolo. I'm in South Sudan, I'm in Sudan, and that we can play. I am not COVID-19 there, the Ginga. Later been Pisu, later been Rain, later been Malta, but Pia didn't be what the door of the town. Galata put him mass, while Castle the target, as I think it is a 10 Castle. Tinas Katila Ayande, so
during COVID-19 period, there was a total lockdown in Uganda, and it was a breakthrough for me because it was hard for me to get clients. Actually, I had clients, but I had to cancel with them because during COVID, we were told not to touch your hands and forget about touching your other fellow human beings. So it was hard for me because I actually bought all the stuff I needed to work on a client for a year, and it was very hard for me to get a client to work on, and the clients that I had to cancel with them because of COVID and the precautions that we were supposed to take. I usually buy my henna packs as a wholesale, and I usually buy for 6 months or 1 year. And when I was unable to get a client, it was hard for me to get the initial money, the capital that I bought the things.
COVID-19 affected me a lot. I used to do some work like photographing. I used to go to reading centers, reading. I used to shoot when they are going to events. I use my own transport, like going to Nyonyo there to take my cameras and ask customers like whether they want a photo or not. I ask them and they tell me whether they want. I start taking photos. Though even sometimes they usually tell us that they don't have money. They usually pay us low. They tell us that we're not getting money. Some of us, they tell us let it be debt, like we will pay later on when we get our photos. But we are still surviving on it.
These elections that are now happening in the middle of this pandemic are really affecting the civilians and the people around. And I was on a border and I was wearing a red shirt and a jacket. So we were stopped and they started harassing us. They were speaking Luganda, which I do not understand. So this border guy was smart enough to drive off so fast. And that's how we thought we escaped. So when we went in front, we still found tear gas, and you know, these guys just threw at you. Like they threw at you those things, and it really affected me. Like I was suffocating. So that's how this whole thing affected me, this lockdown. It's not a good feeling. it's not a good situation.
Women and girls have been the most affected during the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is because most of them have become caregivers to those within their families.
Everything was locked down. I would sell my jewelry and I would take care of my other siblings at home. But because of COVID-19, I was really affected in a way that we would not eat anything at home. We had no money and everything was closed down. I would have no way to access people and give them my jewelry because I was selling jewelry. So it became so hard for us as a family because being alone with the siblings and you don't even have anything to give them was so hard. We would take days without eating, no food. But because of CIMA Africa, refugees were thought about and were able to get at least food relief, and that helped us as refugees here in Uganda, and we're able to smile again.
They're also facing different forms of physical and sexual violence during this COVID-19 pandemic.
The time of lockdown, things were hard because parents left the camp having this site to support their children in the school, and they believe that going back to receive the food ratio from the camp and coming back to help their children would be better, because education in camp is like wasting of time, because when you send your child to school and when the child come back with a weak result, like the child have done nothing. So you want a good education so that in the future you will see something good in the child. So in the lockdown, it was hard and difficult for people to access when to come. Like I was telling my friend here, during the lockdown, people will start working either at 8 in the morning and reaching the camp at 8 in the evening. The whole day you'll be moving. And the people, the host community also, they will rob people on the way. They will take properties from you, either good things that they have seen, and it reached to excess, like they were almost to rape some women walking on the way. And also on the side of soldiers, like when people reach there to receive their food ratio, coming back, the soldiers were taking money. Security people were taking the only money that make you to walk from town going to come and help your children. You find it is already taken on the way. That was the hardest things. You find the women were crying seriously. You find like you were walking, but the sandals are worn off. We are walking barefooted, and you find people were really bleeding, the serious bleeding. So this is what people went through. And in the same place, like when you went to, you have already reached the camp, making the real process of getting the food or the money, because other people have already registered to receive money. In the process, they will just you will look like an animal. Because they will be like, we want a distance, and in the sun heat, let me tell you, in the camp, it is better here, there's no good water. The water there is sour. Also there's what is called a serious sun heat. It is very hot. And imagine you will stand in the sun heat for something like around 5 or 6 hours. Even that money is not enough to feed you and treat you. So that was what was taking place. And also there was no cars to help people to come to town. So sicknesses were like sicknesses. Someone could not access because it was like one ambulance serving the whole camps. So seeing that situation was hard, we were losing people, seriously. And you see, like from there, when you see someone else, you have lost someone and you see that a problem have come up, you see people were committing suicide. And we have youth who are the head of the families. You see, like you are the head of the family. What will you do? That was a serious suffering. So people gave up in life. Actually, let me say, people have given up. It is only God to just give hope to the people in the camp.
In the refugee camps, most people believe queer people are cursed. They say those are behaviors from the West and they'll beat anyone who shows homosexual traits. They believe homosexuality is white people's way of destroying the African culture. Queer people are seen as agents of the devil, that God will punish any queer person like he did in the Bible times of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's for these reasons that queer persons in the refugee camps stay in the shadows, never disclosing their sexual orientation or preferred gender identity, living in the fear of discrimination, fear of stigma, dehumanization, and demonizing of queer people.
Homosexuality has been legalized. Hizi countries zote zingine are still homophobic, sawa? No country is better than the other. Sawa. The host, when she tells you don't go, she knows why she said don't go. Sishindane jameni.
I feel like when one is supposed to get married, they're supposed to wait for one to get prepared, and like I should be the one to bring the person that is to marry me and not being forced into marriage. But I have been faced with that challenge of up to today, I still get some calls from family members asking me when I'm bringing the prospective man home, simply because I am not in school and they feel like I am being useless at home. It's been so stressful, and I feel like as a girl, I don't deserve to go through what I'm going through because it wasn't my choice to be a girl, and marriage should be by choice, not by force.
My family wants me to get married, so father brought to me. The first man rejected me because of my height. He wanted someone taller than me. Then the second man that was brought, he didn't want to get married to me because he didn't want me to get married to him because I was an activist. I was so open-minded, I was going to give him hard time. So he left me, and that's how I survived. I felt so bad, like I felt devastated. I didn't expect this from my family. So they think that it's better for me to get married than rather stay at home.
Imwe bahindi mwe mwakahinga kweza kweza simwambonera kakona nyabirama kavyire nkande nkindure kahekera abana beiragura n'abandi beradi angwa kakona karabo kagenda.
I want us to come to a society, like right now, the resolutions is for us to unlearn the things our parents taught us when we were growing. Like those things of, oh, you're a girl, you don't have to be loud. No, be loud because you want to be loud. Those are the things. I want us to start accepting ourselves. If you're not a person who likes wearing long clothes, wear what you want to wear. Because where I come from, like you can't wear like this. It's really absurd. They will look at you and they'll be like, like, who will marry you? And you're like, people are there, you know?
People are suffering in silence. They don't just, tell everyone because you don't want to spoil maybe your husband's reputation or your wife's reputation or your family image or something like that. So it's hard to get that kind of information from people. So I think as people, the authority, like people in authority, they should pay more attention to people trying to bring them together using maybe other creative, other things that are creative. Let's say maybe holding gatherings like this or MDD, things like that, so that if you're not talking to someone directly, you're not going to someone's home directly, like I've heard that they were beating you, so we are here to talk to you, that kind of thing. You pass that information in some kind of indirect way that still reaches them.
If we attend a certain party, let's say it's a normal party, right? And everyone is dressing, they call it dress to kill. So I'm going to use you. I hope you don't get offended. So she dressed up like that and turned up for a party. I was walking around, it's like, wow, you look sexy. Is that an harassment or? Really? Okay.
If someone, I'm at a party and I'm looking nice, and you're there, Ganika, and you're like, oh, Pamela, you're looking sexy, that might not hit me like a stranger in town pulling me and saying, size yange, hey, you are looking sexy. Really? So, no. So what I'm trying to say is that the comments coming from a place where you do not expect them to be coming from is a bit violating, because you're there, someone is pulling you, touching you. Just imagine you're walking on, you just minding your own business, walking your things. Someone comes and taps your ass, hey, you're sexy and all that. How would you feel? You feel so dirty.
Right now we're seeing a lot of, there's a lot of backlog, of cases of violence in the police station, There are a lot of statements written, but a few have been reported for further adjudication and all that. So the government should invest more in the police for efficiency, At least if I come and I report a case, that case should at least be heard very fast, Because right now, I think most of us have given up in the police, Those guys in the village, So today, if your wife beats you or your husband beats you, you're going to find out, I cannot go to the police because I'm not going to do anything at the end of the day.
The change begins with us. As a girl, me myself, I have some talent that is God-given. Why don't I showcase it? Why don't I do it practically so that I can earn from it? In most cases, we are only talking about like the government should do this and this. The government is already doing their part. But if we are not creative enough to do something that can help you personally, and you just want the government to do it for you, you will keep suffering. So it is very important for us to be creative. If you're good at farming, go for it. If you're good at art, do it. Whatever it is, be creative enough to support yourself, then the rest will be handled.
In tailoring, if you don't love what you're doing, it will end up messed up, like even clients start complaining. So I would encourage them to go and join tailoring.
I decided to write online, to start a blog, and although it's not bringing in any money right now, I'm hopeful that in the future things could change, because as people get to know, as people get to discover the blog, as people get to love you, the content you're putting out there, things could change. Time is going to come when things change. And yeah, we're waiting for that.
Bueno, okwekyana kyani kitwegesa okwiba kikaiba abaana b'abandi. Mugenda aho bayikire babakwata enyangi kumugenda ati muzaha mulire ngwaza turebe orakizo ndijo kurira akanyangi kaza kata abana n'abanje abana n'abanje abana n'abanje abana n'abanje abana n'abanje emiziga yije abana n'abanje abana n'abanje utyo bwe yaheze haze ekikono abana n'abanje abana n'abanje abana n'abanje ngwinga ngo abana n'abenyangi ngutore enyangi abana bawe ngo umutahe ngo umugende ku rugo ubwo batandukanye tubaragarukiye gutura hamwe undi yatora ogwiye.
If I can get material to continue with my artwork, I can concentrate, and also because to me, art is a healing therapy. Like when I do art, like I try to forget like the problems I have, and also the situation like happening in my home country.
I met some women who were sitting at the gate of that office. So I greeted them and I continued with my journey, entered inside. And when I came out, I still found the same women seated in the same place. And there was a lot of sunshine. So I asked them, I said, what are you mothers doing here? And then one of them told me that they had gone to seek for help from the OPM to see how they can be given some food because their children were dying of hunger from starving. So I asked them if they were given any response, and they told me that there was no one attending to them. For about 2 minutes we stood outside, and then 2 minutes we stood. I still remain, I was trying to figure out that these are women and they are from the refugee camp, they need some help and it is totally impossible. They even told me that they came walking all the way from where they were staying just to go and seek for some help if they can get some food. So I asked them, now what can I do? That we don't know anything now. You even look young to help us. That's why we have come to the office. So I collected their numbers and I told them that I'm going to do a campaign. I will talk to some friends and family members. So anyone that will be in position to contribute something, I will buy food and bring to you. There were 3 women and 1 boy. So they told me they came all the way from that side of the US, going to Old Campbell, and they were walking. And so I decided to give them some money to get a taxi to take them back. So I went back and then I got home, I did a campaign, I talked to some friends and some family members, and then we contributed some money. And after I think about 2 to 3 weeks, I was able to send some friends. I was so occupied that I couldn't go to them, but I sent some friends who got for them food and the food was taken to them. So I think that is a very great challenge, because it was a time the government of Uganda was supplying food to the nationals, but the refugees were just left hungry. And I saw it a very big challenge during the pandemic and especially during the lockdown.
We are a generation of youth coming together to create art, to raise our voices and challenge narratives. We create content that is critical to conversations that are being echoed in homes, in neighborhoods, in streets, in halls of power, and whispered in the dark. We are refugees. We are queer. We are different. We are trans. We are creatives. We are here to stay. We are here to rise.
As a creative, doing videography and photography is the only way I can make money. Due to the lockdown, so many of my gigs and events have been cancelled, and this has costed me a lot of money. I had to post most of my work on internet, but the data rates in Uganda are really very expensive, and this has become a big challenge to me. So after the phase, I hope I'll still get more clients.
Due to the lockdown, I've had to adapt to new ways of working in order to survive. I use digital tools like Instagram, Facebook to sell my work. After I post my work, the customers get in touch with me, send a deposit, and pay for delivery of the finished work. The dialogue I had at CIMA Africa helped me to understand the importance of documenting my work online. I also learned how to monetize the social media during the COVID-19 lockdown.
Everyone is wearing a mask. Some masks are visible and others are not. Some masks are educational, but others are intentional. Some masks are protective and others are descriptive, but some masks are simply who we are.
Being a DJ is mostly a male-dominated industry. Like at work, it's always like you have to just open up and then they just bring the... To me, I always felt like they didn't think I was good enough because... And I am this open, queer person when it comes to my work. Most times the boss did like it, I think, and I would get this attention more than expected. It reached a point where he would like just tell me not to come to work. That was like my only means of making money. It's not easy because some of us don't know how to tone down on who we are. So you don't get to be very, very happy. The means of survival, I've been trying to make mixes, and also as a PR, I've been trying to like mix music and then like mental health. So I would make mixes like, and then also I've been making juice, like detox juice for guys. Like I just been like surviving.
I mean, of course, the industry has always been male-dominated. And of course, within the industry, there's been the powerful women that have also, shipped in a whole lot of, power to show the infinite energy that the feminine actually represents. And today, when you're talking about the industry, you must understand that the male-dominated ideology and concept that is used to suppress, the motherhood, or, because, I'm in hip hop culture, and hip hop culture is known once again to, be also deemed as a culture that has been used to degrade women, to do all of it, And so at the end of the day, when I look at it, and that's why I've indigenized a lot of my concepts, and how did my community begin? Who was the center of my community? The mother was always the center of my community that I come from. And just having that knowledge and that understanding now allows me to share something new within the space where the feminine and the masculine are struggling to come together to find a way to centralize them again. We as an African, we have adapted to so many narratives that keep us going backwards instead of forward. And you know why is that? Because our adaptation is based on colonial set up information strands that have been ingrained in our memory banks to not even recall where we came from, where we started, our languages, who we are. And so when we're talking about these ideas now, I always like to guide people back to, can you remember who was at the center of this beginning? Why is it Mother Earth and not Father Earth? You have to go back to these understandings and allow yourself to literally connect to the influence of the mother and why that word is so powerful in life.
Building an inclusive creative community is very important in these times. It will help us preserve and document the work that past and present creatives have been sharing. Throughout history and history, we find that we as Africans cannot trace our roots or find content that speaks to our true heritage. This is why it's very crucial that we embrace new ways of working by using digital tools like social media platforms to share critical content that tells the true African narrative.